It'll be in May.
Okay. All right. Call this meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Mary.
Commissioner Wilkinson,
Here?
Commissioner Bird,
Here.
Commissioner Prunick,
Here.
Mayor Barry.
Here.
Commissioner Jardins is excused.
Okay. Okay, we'll move into the public hearing. Can I have a motion?
Make the motion move into a public hearing.
Support.
Second.
You can choose, eh? Motion by Birch, seconded by Prunick to move into the public session. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Okay, we're now in the public hearing for zoning ordinance amendment. To add the greenhouse garden center as accessory use in C and D districts. Any public comment? Hearing none, any commissioners?
I make a motion we approve the,
Okay.
the.
I guess there's no
the-
commissioner
The
comments.
amendment to the zoning ordinance.
All right. I'll support. Okay.
I was gonna make a comment, but it's all good.
Did you get, well, any discussion?
Yeah, I think this is a common sense move, and honestly, with our downtown, the way that it is, it's more functional than I would say, with the businesses that are involved, so I'm glad to see a functioning business. We're all, that's good. So,
I agree, you guys have done a great job.
If the motion does pass, we'll be able to publish it on the 11th, as it's too late for this Friday. And per our charter, it will take effect 10 days later and become effective on, publish on the 7th, and it would be effective on the 17th of this month.
Thank you. So, a motion by Wilkinson, seconded by Prunick. No more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
I'll make a motion we close the public hearing on the zoning ordinance.
Do we need to close it or
I
just
think we
open
need
it?
to close
and
it
go
to open the other one.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, motion by Wilkinson, second by Burge to close the public hearing on the zoning, and the amendment to the zoning ordinance. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, now let's move into the next public hearing for the DWRLF project plan. Can I have a motion to move into the,
I'll make a motion to move into the public hearing for the DWRLF project plan.
Second.
moved by Prunick, seconded by Wilkinson to open the next public hearing regarding the DWRLF project plan. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Okay, public comments.
So, Scott Nowak, Home Engineering, for those that don't know me. So, for the last 2 years, we've been working with the city to submit a drinking water revolving fund application to the state of Michigan for replacement of water services. This all has to do with the Michigan lead and copper rules and the mandate that the city replace them all. The last 2 years, it's been unsuccessful. I think it was about 2 years ago, we did a public hearing just like this. It's required of the grant application. Last year, we didn't make any changes to that application. We just let the application ride as it was from 2 years ago. This year, some meetings with Devin and Ron, we decided to make a couple of changes to that application to hopefully make it a little bit more fundable. So there's been a project plan, I think everybody's seen that, been publicly available for at least 10 days as part of the deal here. As part of the process with this, it's technically a draft project plan at this point. We have a public hearing for it, and it's tonight, answer any questions, and document that actually in the back of that project plan, and make any changes that might come out of this meeting as well. Couple of key points here. The city is still overburdened in the eyes of the state of Michigan, which is a really big deal for funding. Has to do with your median household income, your rates, things like that. But that's a good deal for point scoring. The changes we made, all the lead water service replacement that was in the previous two applications, that's still in this application, hopefully enough to replace all of the remaining lead water services in the city of Munising. The other two changes we made, though, is we added some water main work There's some additional points for looping dead-end water mains. So we added 2 water main loops on Anoka Street, Pine Street over by the high school. So that's a little bit of an additional work to the previous years here. Total application amount is $2,877,927. There is a detailed estimate in there. No promises for grant and loan scenario from the state of Michigan. See, they have certain talking points I have to hit in the public hearings. I don't want to miss any.
And just to confirm that when we talk about lead service lines, the state of Michigan considers them to be lead service lines. However, they're galvanized steel, as we are not aware of any lead service lines on our system, just for clarification.
One thing, they do social and environmental impacts, just to throw a couple things out there. We see no long-term environmental impact from this project. No damaging wetlands or anything like that. Long-term social impacts, no real negative impact there. People are getting new water services. Short-term impacts include diffusion of dust, noise, and some just disruption to traffic during construction, obviously. Hopefully, schedule-wise, if this is successful, these projects take quite a long time to implement. This application has to be submitted by June 1st. It will get recommended for funding, if it does get recommended for funding, sometime in the month of September and become part of the state of Michigan budget October 1st. There is a required schedule you have to abide by from there. That would be bidding out to a construction contractor in June of 2026 for construction that starts in September 26 and probably wraps up at the end of 2027. So that's where this would be at from a schedule standpoint. I guess with that, if anybody has any questions?
What would happen if we don't get the loan/grant for Hugo Paul?
So at some point, the city's gonna have to start funding these things on their own.
It's around it,
Yeah.
okay.
There are 2 more years, as of right now, under the bipartisan infrastructure law, the state has earmarked, and I forget the number, quite a few hundreds of millions of dollars through the last 5 years, and the next 2 years towards lead's water service replacement in the state. Right now, that funding goes through 2027. I strongly suspect they will extend that. You're not by any stretch, you're in pretty good shape lead service-wise as far as expenditures in the future. A lot of communities are looking at tens of millions of dollars in the future here, whereas $2.8 million, you're in good shape. So there's a lot of push at the state level for more funding on this lead water service replacement.
How competitive was this round? Would you know?
Increasing compared to the last few years. It's one of the main reasons we wanted to make some changes. In addition to this, I know Devin and you folks have been involved a little bit with the wellhead protection plan. That's 5 more points. It's 100 points total on these applications. I think we had 75 last year, if I remember correctly. 85 should be where we're at this year, all things being equal, which was the funding cutoff last year. People at 85 points were getting funding, so we're hopeful.
In the meantime, though, until we get the funding, the city has to continue every year to replace 5% of those services on an ongoing basis.
We haven't started yet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we have, okay. So that's why the number's only 187, or what it?
Yeah, partially. I mean, there turned out to be less than what we figured to begin with. At some point, somebody did a bunch of boring projects and put copper in, so there was a lot more than we expected.
If only they would have made record of it.
Somewhat on that note, the TMF project, the potholing contract with UP Environmental Services, that'll start back up as soon as they can here. Sometime in the month of April, I hope, but I'm sure it's gonna be more like June 1st. And get some more answers to those types of questions.
I'm sorry, go
No,
ahead.
you go ahead.
Is there any projection of what it's gonna cost the taxpayers?
I'm always hesitant. There's options with the number of years. I would never guarantee 100% grant. It almost certainly won't be 100% grant. I'd hesitate to promise you any grant, given the funding of the day, but there's options between 10 and 20 and 30-year loans. So that heavily affects it if you chose a 40-year loan versus a 10-year loan, if there is some grant. They still haven't published the interest rate for this would be for fiscal year 2026, so I don't actually tell you the interest rate on the money either. For the most part, it really comes down to getting an offer from the state and then coming back to you folks and seeing if that's something that you can accept.
I think the interest rates, they had it posted at a conference yesterday. It was anywhere from 1 to 2.9.
Yeah, they don't formalize any of them.
Oh,
So that's why they give you the range all the time. It's obviously 1 to 2.9 over 20 or 40, a huge difference, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
On page 31 of the project plan, we do have a projected user cost. And it is projected with the assumption of a 30-year loan at 2.75, increasing average monthly bill from $46.93 to $57.37.
It just
So,
boggles my mind that it's gonna be that much.
But it might not be.
Well, might not. I can wish in one hand and you know what, the other one, see which one figures out. I'm just concerned because it's becoming increasingly expensive to live in the city. Now, I get that there's limited housing and that kind of thing, but if you're gonna start tacking on another $20, $25 or $30 for water usage, the sewer rates just went up again. Are we gonna price ourselves out of this? I don't know. I'm concerned about that. There's an awful lot of people that an extra $30 or $40 a month or $25 a month, they can't afford. So where do we go from that? I'm concerned about it. I get that we need to do it, and there's matching here, which is,
Sure.
free money, kind of, if you want to call it that. But I'm concerned that the cost of this is starting to get goofy here. I don't know.
Yeah, and one of the things I like to point out with this is, right now, I believe we're looking at 13 more years. There's some
Yes.
conjecture about this. It was originally a 20-year cycle starting in 2021, so we had 2040, 2041 to finish this. Now they're talking about cutting a couple of years off of that at the federal level.
Starting on 27.
Correct. They said 10 years to replace them all, but it doesn't start for 3 years, so, yeah, they couldn't just say 13, right? But, hopefully we can get some grant money put in to get that done. One of the things, construction inflation is just nasty. It always is. It's 6, 7, 8% across the board. Sometimes it's 20. So the sooner you do stuff, the better off you are. I'd rather see you pay 3% interest on the money and get it done today than wait and have construction go up 7% a year for a decade, right? Hopefully that construction inflation is finally slowing a little bit, but, and then the other thing is we can drag that loan term out well beyond the 13-year lifespan of this replacement requirement. So hopefully that helps actually defray some of that cost to the users. That's the goal.
So looking at the projection, there's a map missing from your presentation that includes Grand Island Township. It's just not in here. It's referenced at the beginning as 2.5, and 2.5 is actually the map for the industrial park instead. We're dealing with other townships on this as well, even though that we own the water system. I get that it's our call for the most part, but have you talked to any of these other groups? Have you gotten letters of support from any of these groups that could help out with our grant scoring? Like, is there any kind of overlap in any of this procedural aspect that would help us out in understanding what's going on? Because I know the Grand Island, it only meets quarterly, so they're difficult to get a hold of, but if every point counts, then is this something that we should be looking into, or at least having communication with before just signing this resolution?
So their version of that is something called regionalization. There are some points associated with that I have fought and clawed for with the state of Michigan for 2 years and have failed to be able to get them. Obviously, you do provide water service to the to township residents, right? Township users. I believe it's 5 points, it might be 10. I'd really like those points. Make your application very scoreable if we could get them. Here's the insanity of this is if Munising Township actually had their own water supply anywhere else, you know, the only one in the township you guys operated, you would qualify for those points, and the state won't give us the points. They don't operate their own water system, so we can't get regionalization. So we have dug pretty deep to try to find some additional points in that scoring matrix. Don't really think there's anything we can do at this point to improve that. Couple of the points that you really would be valuable, they call it significantly overburdened status. I talked to you about overburdened status. There's nothing you can do with that besides decrease your median household income of your people in town. That's the only metric you can get those points on. And to be honest, if you hear some of these communities getting 100% grant, they have significantly overburdened status. So I would never stand here and say you're gonna get 100% grant on something like this. They all get this significant overburden status based on their median household income being what it is, and you just don't qualify. And it really, it's a metric we can't adjust, right?
And then as far as our township participation goes, the industrial park system is not involved in this project at all because the time frame of when that was built, there was no galvanizer lead used in the system. Because of that, we have no replacements in the industrial park. And then we do have a water system component in Grand Island Township. However, the only customer is the city.
So,
The only reason why I ask is because I know that a lot of federal grants dealing with some of the firefighting and dealing with some of the environmental protection grants that are being done. Limestone and Matthias Township have made bank over their combined efforts. And we're talking doubling the amount of grant money that those municipalities have been receiving because they've been pairing up together, because they share services. It's something that I know that Grand Island is very small, but even if we're the only group, like a resolution that just supports this is something that I was hoping that we could get through. Just because, you know, for lack of better terms, a suburb community like Grand Island would be beneficial for the overall general municipal area, and that could be a big win. So, like I said, it's just something to think about. If it can't be done, it can't be done. So.
because when you said regionalization, that was one of the things in here, one of the three key things, and
Yep.
that was what we weren't able to prove that.
Yeah, the regionalization, the state's been pushing regionalization for quite some time. And to give you a really good example of regionalization, like our office is in Iron Mountain and the city of Kingsford, you drive into the city of Kingsford and you can't tell the difference, you just cross the street, right? They operate two completely independent water systems with their own wells. Their water doesn't flow across the street. They actually at times both have a water main in the same street. To regionalize and combine those two systems into a water authority, you get the points like nothing. That's exactly what they're looking for. Yeah, but you really don't have anybody else to tie on to besides yourselves, so. Yeah.
There's only two operating water groups in the county, and the other one's a channel.
I even tried to ask if you tied on to the tribal system, and they won't count the tribal system.
Any other commissioner comments? Okay. I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the DWRLF project plan resolution.
I'll support.
Moved by Commissioner Birch, supported by Commissioner Prunick to approve the DWRLF project plan resolution. Any more discussion?
I'd like, one quick point, I'd like to try to find some way or somehow that we could project from 1 to 2.9, you're talking about what it's gonna cost us. What's gonna cost the the people that pay the taxes here, whether it's gonna be water or whatever, if there's some way we can project that.
Well, it's not gonna go on taxes, it's
not
gonna go on the water
taxes.
bill.
It's gonna be the water sewer rates.
Okay,
I
I don't know what the difference is, whether it goes on your taxes or goes on the water bill.
Well, so
That's-
everybody
I mean, it's gonna
that
be,
owns a residence pays taxes, but not everybody uses water.
Yep, so our utility funds are self-supporting, so the only revenue from, so the revenue from our water sewer bills is the only revenue we can use to fund the expenses in the water and sewer. And our water and sewer are split, they're not combined. So our sewer bills pay for sewer operations, our water bills pay for water operations.
Okay.
So in a.
So the water rate's gonna go up, okay,
Correct.
I get that, is there any?
Yep, yeah, we should be able to
Water,
work
so
on a metric.
I'm looking at my whole bill here.
Yeah, we should be able to work on a metric that would take in, to account the assumptions. We have the one in the plan that assumes a 30-year at 2.75. And we should be even capable of breaking it down to even splitting a 50-50 grant loan too.
Absolutely.
If 50% of it's given in grant, the remaining loan amount spread over that 10, 20, 30-year possibility.
I just think that's information that there's an awful lot of people would like to know, is, that really don't know. I get it, and I get things cost money, I understand that, but if there's a question from somebody, on 123 Main Street that says, geez, I heard this is gonna cost us money, well, what?
So-
Then we can answer a question, or at least come close.
And there is the statement Devin pointed out in the project plan document, that is meant to be a pessimistic number, right? That's not, it isn't optimistic. It's based on a 100% loan, it's based on a 30-year term, you can go to a 40. It's based on, to the best of our knowledge, what the interest rate probably will be. Hopefully it'll be a little better than that. So at least if you look at that number, and I forget the exact, you said it there.
Give or take $10.
Yeah.
That is a pessimistic look at it, but I always hesitate to talk rates until we're actually talking about an offer from the state. Until we know firmly what their interest rate is, I don't want to promise that to you, right?
I just know once there's a quote-unquote tax, which this is basically gonna be for 20 years or whatever, it never comes off. It's never paid off. It's always,
Right.
it's always there. So we keep moving on, so, okay,
Okay,
I'm fine.
all right, thanks. We have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Wilkinson,
Aye.
Commissioner Bird,
Aye.
Commissioner Prunick,
Aye.
Mayor Barry.
Aye. Motion carries. Great, thank you very
Thank you,
much. All right, let's, or can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on the DVR.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilkinson, supported by Commissioner Prunick, to close the public hearing on the DWRLF loan, or DWRLF project plan. All those, any discussion? None, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, enter the regular meeting. E, consent agenda. Anybody have any questions?
We have to do the regular public comments.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, yep. Anybody have any public comments? Now that you made me do that. No. Somebody better say something.
Yeah.
Okay, hearing none. Let's move on to the consent agenda. Anybody have anything they would want to pull off the consent agenda?
I have a question about one of the correspondence items. And it's more procedural, so we can either do it now or we can pull it out.
You know what, I've not done this, so if we pull it out, do I have to call a motion?
I believe it would be a motion to pull the item out, add it to the regular agenda, and then there would be also incorporated a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Okay, all right. If you would like that pulled out, put onto the,
Yes, I would like to make a motion that I would like to pull out the correspondence from the consent agenda and move it to F5.
Okay.
Which is the last of new business.
What are we pulling out?
Yeah, what part of the
The
correspondence?
correspondence as a whole.
the whole correspondence?
Yeah, because I don't want to separate them because they're an agenda item as one. So
Okay.
I figured it might be easier just to pull it out and.
All right, and do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Burge, seconded by Commissioner Prunick to move the correspondence item off of the consent agenda and add it to the regular agenda as item 5. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And motion carried. So now, do I have to call another motion?
Need a motion to approve the consent
Make
agenda.
the consent agenda.
I will make the motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Bird, seconded by Commissioner Wilkinson to approve the consent agenda as amended. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks. That's something every meeting. Okay, on to new business. Item 1, USDA creation of city community forest grant agreement.
Yes, this is the grant agreement for the U.S. Forest Service Community Forest Funds that we were awarded back in 2024, for the purchase of the Munising Bay Overlook property. We were given a notice of award and had filled out some certifications and paperwork that we, very similar to what we've had to do for our USDA projects. Essentially, provide them that we are part of the SAM system, which is the federal government's ability to disperse money, that we have no conflicts of interest, that there's just a long list of certifications. The next step was going to be the grant agreement, and the grant agreement is the document that we would sign to have the federal funds obligated to the project. And then at that point, the next step would be the request as outlined in the grant agreement to request those funds in preparation for closing on the property. And the grant agreement is, for the most part, as Bill Lordine would say, is a contract of adhesion, where we don't really have negotiating room. It is more so, pretty much that's what it is. The first couple pages of the grant agreement kind of outline how it operates and what the intent is. And that would be to provide $600,000 federal funds for that property acquisition and to designate that property as a community forest and to be operated within the confines of the U.S. Forest Service's definition, which is essentially a public property owned and operated in perpetuity for public use with development in line with their development guidelines, essentially increasing accessibility, increasing usability, while minimizing impactful and any harm being done to those properties. The last few pages of the grant agreement cover essentially boilerplate language. There's a Buy America, Build America requirement in this, even though there is no actual material being purchased with the grant. There is a trafficking aspect. There is a number of things that are boilerplate that will not impact this, but we do have to also agree to them. We're also, as part of our USDA projects, have the same language, so this is nothing new for us.
How much is the acquisition cost?
Just over 1.2 million.
So
Yep.
that's okay.
So we have $600,000 in community forest grant funds. We've been provided a notice of recommendation for trust fund at $600,000, and then we upped our share to $21,000 on the entire
That's right.
project, so we could get some extra points on the trust fund to make it happen.
That's right. You know, something I didn't ask you earlier, say the bike club came to us and wanted to develop trails. Would that, we were talking with Davis Bacon wage rates, would that type of activities fall under?
That would not. Nope.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions?
Like you said, it's not like it's a big deal. Did Bill look it over?
He did, yep.
It's just, like I
Yeah.
said, just get it signed.
Yeah. Yeah, he found nothing of note
Sure.
to bring to the commission.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I really hate letter M, the copywriting. Page 8. It's not enough for me to say no to this, but that is some real risky business for groups in a tourism community that are gonna go out, take photos, stick a logo on it, or watermark on their photo and put it on social media. While I highly doubt that anything legal would come through this scenario, that is some shady stuff. I know that it's boilerplate, but screw whoever wrote this, because this is wildly inappropriate. That you would go in and say that only the city is the one that can take a photo, because that doesn't explain what would happen if somebody from the chamber went up there and took a photo. Doesn't explain what would happen if the tourism bureau went up and took a photo. doesn't understand, like, you may have some First Amendment protections for any journalists that went up there and took a photo of that. And then if you put them up on social media, there'd be some risky aspects there, which means that anybody, any influencer that comes to town, anybody that's claiming this vacation on 1099 and takes a photo of that land, like, that is some really poor writing. And while, again, I doubt that it would actually come to anything, I just want to say it out loud that I'm really disappointed that something with such terrible language in it and cluelessness in terms of how that land would be used would be included in a federal contract. And now my rant is over.
Anybody else? If there's no other comments, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to, what are we doing here? Approve the, city community forestry grant agreement. Right?
I'll second.
Moved by Commissioner Prunick, seconded or supported by Commissioner Wilkinson to approve this, the creation of the city community forestry grant agreement, USDA creation. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. All right, item number 2, quotes for the 1999 Spartan telesquirt outfitting, or telesquirt outfitting. There's 2 bids in front of us. Oh, we have to put them on, place them on file. So if we can take a motion to place the bids on file.
I'll make the motion.
No, it's all you.
I'll make the motion to put the bids on file.
I'll support.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Birch, seconded by Commissioner Prunick to accept the bids and place them on file for the 1999 Spartan telesquirt, for outfitting for the 1999 Spartan telesquirt. Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None, motion carries, we're on file. Okay, go ahead, Captain.
So these are the items that our fire department has been able to discern that will be needed to outfit the new to us vehicle that we have on order. We did ask that Chief Anderson at least try to solicit at least 2 quotes. Those have been provided from R&R and Pomisel, and anything you want to add?
Just, the Paul Lubasol quote is the business that I do the majority of my stuff through, and they've always given us really good rates. So, but I did the second one, just because I had to, but, yeah. I got left some things off there that I think we will need, but I'm not gonna, ask for a mountain of gold when you just give me a hill.
But the quotes are for the same items,
Yes.
and both of them are qualified, and I would recommend the low bid.
Did we not know this before we bought the truck? That was
Yes,
gonna-
we did.
I don't remember seeing anything when the last meeting where we said, yes, let's buy the truck, or any of this was on there.
Because I needed to go get bids because, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we single sourced the truck. And the second bid, the R&R, wasn't in on time, so I couldn't get it in there.
For some reason, I thought we knew this. that-
Yeah, we knew, if it was
we knew
said
that
that we were gonna
there
have
was
to get it equipped anyway when we got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it would've been nice to know to what extent. Yeah,
This is
I got that it might need a tire, but I didn't realize we were looking at $14,000 either.
Well, with all due respect, sir, that's on a very, very cheap end.
Yeah.
That's the bare minimum, in my opinion, that we can do with that truck.
I don't disagree with you. My point was, we should have had some idea while we were in the process of getting the truck, that we were gonna, instead of 44, it could have been 64. It's just my point. I don't disagree with it, it's my point. I think we could have had more information at the time.
Anybody have any other comments or questions?
Yeah, just because of the way that it's notated on here, it says no air bottles was a total of 11,179, but then the total bid from R&R is 18,000. So when you say recommend low bid, which bid are we talking?
So the second page that has the total on it, that's including the air bottle quote.
Okay.
So the page one is a total, so page two of the packet, page one of the R&R quote did not contain the bottles. Page two of the R&R quote contains the bottles for a total of 18,529.
Okay. And there's no bottles with the console either.
Yes, there is.
Yes.
On the bottom.
Yep, so
The flex.
5-3M cycling
Oh,
belt
okay.
assembly,
All right.
carbon 30-minute Scott bottles.
Okay. And the bottles are important. I know that they are, but like.
No, I mean,
like-
as far as, that's a great question, because, we have 37 air bottles in service right now. We only have 9 of the carbon fiber bottles, which are 1/3 of the weight. And when you have 60, 80 pounds of gear on, and then you strap one of those things on, between aluminum and the carbon, it's unreal, the weight difference. You know?
For sure. Without sounding like I'm nitpicking, the reason why I ask is that like if you know, air bottles are automatically included in one, I don't think that if we got rid of them all, that it would change the low bid or ultimate. But it was just one of those things that I'm kind of hyper fixated on the fact that it was handwritten.
And they do have just about the same lifespan as the aluminum bottles. We have to get them hydrostatically tested every 5 years, just like the other bottles, but they're at least 1/3 of the weight. And so somebody's back crawling through a fire, that makes all the difference in the overall.
But these bottles will stay in that truck too, correct?
Definitely.
And right now, we typically do not use our existing ladder unit for anything except absolute necessity
Exactly.
responses.
And then in our existing ladder unit, we have all the old aluminum bottles in that unit.
But it's our intent to utilize the 99 Spartan on a more, basically
Yes,
routine
in fact-
basis, yes.
In fact, on that, I had an officers meeting at 5 o'clock just before this. We determined amongst all of us that we will, with this new truck, we are gonna move that to our number 2 attack truck. So our number 1 attack truck will stay the same, our number 2, which at least 2 fire trucks roll on every call. That new Spartans will be our number 2 truck.
Anything else?
I'll make a motion that we accept the R&R Fire Truck Incorporated bid with,
Pump salt.
I'm sorry,
Pump salt. Just a little bit.
Pump
The
salt.
console,
It's
the one on the front page is the low bid.
R&R's 18.
okay, I apologize, I didn't read where there were. Okay, sorry about that. Then I will take that back and I will make the motion, the council, is that how you pronounce it, fire equipment bid for $13,222.95.
I'll support.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkinson, supported by Commissioner Prudent to accept the little bit of Thomasville fire equipment at $13,222.95. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. All right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, item 3, Cross General Contracting pay request pay request number 2 of $14,665.50.
So pay request submitted by Cross, we've been working with them on submittals and approvals for all of the items for the renovation. The latest schedule they provided to us was a restart date of the week of April 6th. After this week and the weather we've had, we want to reach out to them. We did clean it out for them to gain access back to that west bathroom building today. But their tentative schedule also has them completing the project in May, which is 2 weeks ahead of the June 15th completion date. And once again, Gary has been working quite a bit with Cross on that, and if you guys like to get an update on this project or the other East Bathroom Building project, can bring it.
So, I don't know if we have a lot to say that Devin touched on the West Bathroom Building today. A little bit of a separate deal we did talk about today on that though is working with Ron on the water system out there too. I'm gonna be sending a proposal to work on some water tank storage out there at the West Bathroom Building to get your wells online. Talking to Cross about that a little bit as well. Today, we had the pre-bid meeting for the East Bathroom Building. I apologize, I wasn't in the meeting actually. I had two prime contractors showed up to that. Bids due the middle of April on that project as well for construction this fall on the West Bathroom Building. East Bathroom Building, I screw that up every time. But things are going well there.
Anybody have any more questions on the pay request? No, I entertain a motion.
Make the motion to agree to the pay request number 2 for $14,665.50.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Bird, supported by Commissioner Prunick to approve the Cross General Contracting pay request number 2 for $14,665.50 for George Clark. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. And item 4, Coleman Engineering Local Paving Projects bid. For the Devon.
Yep, so we will need to put the project, or the bids on file.
Oh,
Make the motion to put the bids on file for the local paving projects.
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bird, supported by Commissioner Prunick to put the bids for the local paving project on file. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Bids are on file. Motion carried.
Yep, so this is the price that we received from Payne & Dolan and Baco for the paving projects for the upcoming year. These were a combination of condition assessments with Grand Avenue being the lowest paving rating in the city, and then also an opportunity with a bad assessment being Cemetery Hill with the adjacent area that is under the jurisdiction of the road commission being redone this year, working in the ability to redo the entire road adjacent to the road commissions, as it is also A, needed, and B, hoping to get cost savings with that project through the bid period. The other one is the 300, 400, and 500 blocks of Superior Street. Those were done, I believe, in 1999, before any of the 0809 projects were done. It is the one of the lowest rated Payzer ratings for major streets for those 3 blocks. And right now, really, these are the bids. And if you have any more detail on those, Scott?
Not really. 2 bids, both with it $24,000 apart, I believe. Normal 2 players in that. Seem to be meeting the normal industry numbers right now for both of them, really.
Dramatic number change in the curve. 31,000 or 30,000.
Yeah, I don't know what they're playing at there. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I don't know what I have no idea what Baco's seeing there.
So, yep, and then just the way it's broken down is when we look at the quantities that were utilized to put together the bid package, the quantities for Cemetery Hill would be 197,000. The mill and overlay for the 1 block of Grand would be 66,000, and then West Superior, those 3 blocks would be 97,000. Those are round numbers.
We've had no problems with Baco in the past with any of the projects that have gone through, any kind of contractual issues or anything that have come up.
No, they were the MDOT's contractor for the M28 project. Not our contractor on that one, but we had little to no issues with them. And then I believe the last direct contract, yeah, they did the downtown district as the DDA's project, and then the last city project they did outright, I believe, was H58. And That one came in on time and at budget.
And it stretches Sand Point Road and one of the stretches of H58 as well.
Any other questions?
Do you know if Bacos have any legal
No,
suits against them or anything?
No.
Normally they come in with the bid if there's legals or not, so, but there's nothing that you know.
What do you mean as far as legals?
Well, in the bid packet, or the bid, when they submit a bid with everything that's in it, they
Yep.
usually submit a legal page, don't they? Don't companies?
Uh,
That tell you whether they have legal suits pending or not pending?
We
or
typically
not?
don't request anything if there is a pending suit, but that said, I have multiple projects with them. I actually know all the owners
Okay.
quite well.
I just,
Yeah, I wouldn't, no reason to be concerned that I know of.
so we had that, the only reason I asked is we had that problem when we were doing the bond issue at the school. That we had two bidders that had legal problems,
Sure.
so that was the only reason.
Yeah, no, they're by all accounts taking on probably $100 million worth of state of Michigan work this year, so as far as I know, nothing, no problem.
Anybody else have any comments? Hearing none, I entertain a motion.
Then I'll make the motion, we accept the Baco bid for the 2025 local paving project in the amount of $360,494.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Wilkinson, seconded by Commissioner Birch to accept Baco's bid for the local paving projects in the amount of $360,494. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item 5, correspondence.
Okay, so, the first correspondence here from NDOT, Office Member Random, talks about a project here that, is severely, different in estimations. But the way that the conclusion reads sounds like it automatically goes into effect. And I wanted to make sure that this is not an action item or is an action item scheduled for later. Because it says that the city of Munising, or the Bureau of Development in the city of Munising requests that this project be awarded to the low bidder based on the above conclusion. Is that an automatic awarding, or do we have to review it again?
So, pretty involved question. This is a local agency project, which local agency is our task force fund. So, the road commission, the city, and All-Tran, we sit on our 12A road task force. And anytime we're gonna be using funds through that task force for projects, because they're MDOT funds, it's actually MDOT who administers the projects, does the bidding, handles the contract administration. We have an agreement with them to essentially cover the engineering side of it, as well as a portion of the construction expenses. This one is a little bit interesting because it's like a local agency project on steroids, and the fact that this is a local bridge program grant-funded project through the grant-funded portion of local bridge. And the local bridge component is interesting in the fact that our agreement is a 95%, 5% construction split, where if they award it, they have to cover 95% of that awarded amount, regardless of if it comes in over or under the engineer's estimate. So in this case, the city's responsibility of this $490,000 award is $21,000 and change. So it doesn't spell that out in this, but yes, the contract was awarded through MDOT. Our increase was significantly less. In fact, it's just going to be budgeted into our construction fund, but just at $21,000 from our major street, which we have a very high fund balance in. So it is a project that's going to have very little to do with us monetarily. However, it still gets the project done. We had our engineers work with MDOT and basically take a look at all the bids that were received, 3 of them, and see if there was any anomaly in the bidding, if there's anything that came up in our bid packages. And MDOT and our engineers basically came to the conclusion that no, this is just a factor of pricing, because when we put our application in for the funds, it's 3 years in advance. And so I've been sitting on the Superior Region Bridge Council, who does the reviewing of these projects. since 2019. We made this application in 2020, and when we made the application in 2020, it was for the 23-24 fiscal year. So from our original application to when we get out to bid, we've had 3 years of construction inflation, and then also contractors are limited now too, because we've lost at least one, if not two, regional bridge contractors. The only one left, to my knowledge, is Hebert, who did bid on the project but was not low bid, with it being Grand River Construction. So yeah, so we have the high dollar amount of $438,000. It's 124% over budget, or I'm sorry, over our engineer's estimate. However, we're only on the hook for $21,000 of that.
Okay. Obviously, you know, just for more background, whenever you see something that's less than half of the estimate, things get wild. And I've seen in other places in this county where road commission projects have absolutely derailed entire township governments. And it's not pretty. And so when we're talking about a bridge like this, especially with infrastructure claims and all the other stuff that's going on, to be that off needs some extra public attention and love in a meeting like this. So I appreciate that, and I can't wait to clip out just that part from the YouTube video to just share on my personal page, so that way everybody knows. Okay, cool beans. And then a very smaller thing here is this Municipal Marketplace Advisory Committee. If we have City of Munising people on it, wouldn't it be part of wouldn't it be received as just a different report? Or is that like an official position?
So this is another very interesting topic.
Not too easy.
As you will note, the advisory committee has been established by the county government. And the county government did not solicit nominations from anybody that they put on that committee. And at this point, we, being Kathy and I, and Rod is on it as well, hence that's why we included it, is that Rod said that he would be providing updates on behalf of it. But it was not there was never a request to be put on it. Dale Immel, you'll notice, is put on this. Dale made it to one meeting, and then Dale that responsibility to Kathy. And so it is an appointed committee that never solicited appointments from the county. So.
Okay, that's what I thought. But to be consistent with stuff, if we have an official person on this, I think it would make sense if we just included it as part of the consent agenda instead of correspondence, just for future motions. I know the county appointments and different stuff, because with my job change, I may have to leave that current thing that we just changed, the multi-county solid waste, something very long title. But I'm kind of in an interesting position, because as I've been informed by multiple people now, I'm the only person that has served as a publicly elected official in both the village of Chatham and the city of Munising, or past in the village and the city here. But the county has never asked the village ever for any kind of appointment space for stuff that is required for the city, even though that they qualify in the history of the village existing since 1950 something. So when it comes up to stuff like this, I'm just very interested to see how that kind of came about. And again, thank you for taking the time to explain that in a public and transparent way, because it should just be cleaner.
Thank you.
I would like to make one comment. I just assume the information on the marketplace and that not being a consent agenda, I would like to see that as an agenda item, so as this progresses, there'll be a lot more information coming out. And I think Rod can provide that information, not necessarily on a consent agenda, but as a line item.
We wouldn't be acting on anything, it's just, it is.
I understand, but I think it's an informational thing that should be there.
I take no position on that aspect, just because I was looking for consistency, because I know that I was the one that opened his mouth about getting all the other committees, getting their minute meetings in there, and so I was looking for consistency with it. But if you want to take the extra step, I don't have a.
Yeah, I guess my thought is this is gonna gain more speed as it gets going, hopefully.
As it gets going, then maybe we will, but as of right now, because there is no action, and we really are, it's information only, and I think until we start getting actionable items on it, then it can come off. But as for right now, I feel it's,
You don't think the
I don't
public should know anything about
Well,
it as
they
it's
can-
progressing?
well, they definitely can with the consent agenda, they
Have
can,
access to.
they've got access. It's just, to me, the regular agenda items are for action items. That they're things that we are, acting on, and if there's something in it that stands out, just like tonight, then we can pull it off.
And when, even if it's in the consent agenda, I mean, if Rod had something to say, couldn't he say it in the consent agenda?
Or
I
we
mean,
pull it
you
off,
know,
just like we did tonight.
Correct.
This is the first update like this that we've received from them. With it not being a city committee, we didn't feel as though putting it into the committee reports was accurate. And that's why we put it in correspondence. More wanted to get it to you guys. No action's needed, so it's not an action item. So we will take any direction you guys would like to provide to Sue and to Mary on how to handle it.
You know, first step's flexible. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with how you guys did it, but I mean, to just be consistent and then have the ability to pull it out if we need to. I think it's better to have it as a line item in the consent agenda, the way that we have in the other meeting minutes as a line item in the consent agenda. Plus that way, we don't have to pull out everything like I did for the correspondence.
We good there? All right,
Thank you.
item G, any more public comments? 4 minutes?
I have one quick question. We got the email on the Elder County Correction meeting or whatever. My name was, am I on that committee? I didn't think so.
I
So
think I am.
Yeah, you are.
I believe they basically just check our website and email all of the commissioners.
Okay, I didn't.
Because that's in May coming up.
Yeah.
Any more public comment? None. Item H, adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
There's no discussion. Moved by Commissioner Wilkinson, second by Commissioner Burge to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Oh.